Hi, welcome to the presentation of Class CSCI 5448. The topic of the presentation today is Django. The presentation will be done by Kaiyue An and Tiantian Xie. Those are the contents of our presentation today. We will introduce the introduction of Django history, installation, models, application, admin, query side, URLs, views, templates, and reference. I will introduce the first 7 parts, and Kaiyue An will introduce the remainder. Now at first, I will introduce something about the web framework. As we know, Django is a web framework. So what is the web framework? A web application framework is a software framework that is designed to support the development of dynamic websites, web applications, web service, and web resource. When you are building a website, you always need a similar set of components. For example, a way to handle user authentication, like sign up, sign in, sign out, or a management panel for the website. Forms, a way to upload files, so people create web framework that give you ready-made components you can use. The framework aims to elevate the overhead associated with common activities performed in web development. And Django is a free and open source web application framework which is written in Python. It provides high-level abstraction of common web development patterns, shortcuts for frequent programming tasks, and clear conventions for how to solve problems. Django was born in the fall of 2003 and was created by a web development team in Lawrence, Kansas. It was named Django in July 2005. For Django installation, you need to install 3 parts: Python, virtual environment, and Django. Because as I just said, Django is written in Python, so we need Python to do anything in Django. And this is the link to download and install Python. Before we install Django, we will get you to install an extremely useful tool to help keep your coding environment tidy on your computer. It's possible to skip this step, but it's highly recommended. Starting with the best possible setup will save you a lot of trouble in the future. Virtual environment is a tool to create associated Python environments. Virtual environment creates a folder which contains all the necessary executables to use the packages that Python project would need. We use pip to install a virtual environment and create a virtual environment for the project. To begin using the virtual environment, it needs to be activated. Use this command. And if you are done, you need to deactivate. Now you have your virtual environment started. You can install Django directly. Use the pip like this, pip install Django. And you will get the following result. And now we install the Django environment successfully. Sounds easy, right? So this part, I will use a simple example that is a blog. We will create the blog to explain how Django works. So at first, we need to go to the directory that we want to put our project in. Now, I was there. Now run the following command: Django admin start project my site. Now let's open it in a Sublime Text. See, we have the directory structure like this. In this structure, we have the manage file that runs commands associated with our project. We have the setting. It contains configuration of the website. The URLs.py routes the request based on URL path. And init.py tells Django where a project folder is, and the WSGI is used by a web server to run a Django project. The next step is to set up a database to store the data. So here we will do it in the setting file. In the setting file, we find the database here. The SQLite 3 is the default database that is used in Django. Actually, there is a lot of different database software that can store data, but we will use this default one, SQLite 3. It's already set up. But if you want to use like MySQL, you just change here. In this part, I will talk about something about the Django model. Django model, there is a concept in programming called object-oriented programming. The idea is that instead of writing everything as a boring sequence of programming instructions, we can model things and define how they interact with each other. The object is a collection of properties and actions. For example, if we want to model a cat, we will create an object cat that has some properties such as color, age, mood, and owner. Then the cat has some actions like purr, scratch, or feed. So basically, to describe real things in code with properties and actions. So how will we model blog post? We want to build a blog, right? So what is a blog post? What properties should it have? So for our blog post, we need some text with its content and title, right? And it would be also nice to know who wrote it, so we need an author. Finally, we want to know when the post was created and published. And what kind of things could be done with a blog post? It would be nice to have some methods that publish the post, right? So we need the publish method. A model in Django is a special kind of object. It is saved in a database. This is a place in which you will store information about users, your blog post. You can think of a model in a database as a spreadsheet with columns and rows. Now it's time to create our application. Let's enter the directory which contains the manage.py and run python Melogy.py blog. Oh no, start app blog. Now let us see the directory structure now. We have a lot of new things. In the blog folder, we have the models. It is a data layer, such as the structure of the database tables and how they are queried. The admin is the administrative interface. It defines administrative interface for viewing and updating data for that application. The views is a control layer. It defines the program logic for that app, and each one takes an HTTP web request and returns an HTTP response. The tests define automated tests on the code within that application, and the migration hold the migration files. It contains the files that automate how database tables are created or changed over time for that app. So after creating an application, we also need to tell Django that it should use it. It will be done in the setting file. In the setting, we find the install apps and add the application we want to use. Here is the blog. Now, the Django loads to run this application. Now let us create the model. As I just said, the post include the author title, text, create date, publish date, and the publish method. Let's just copy the code here to save time. So here, the class is a special keyword that indicates that we are defining an object, and the post is the name of our model. You can use a different name as you want. And the models.model means that the post is a Django model, so Django knows that it should be saved in database. Now we define the properties here, and we need to define a type of each field. For example, is it a text or a number or a date or a relation to another object like user? So here, the models.foreign key is a link to another model. The models.char field is how you define text with unlimited number of characters. And the models.text field is for long text without a limit. Sounds ideal for blog post content, right? And the models.type field is a data and type. And if you want to learn more about the model field, you can just click this link. And the publish is the publish method we were talking about before. The def means that it's a function in Python. Once you create model, you need to create tables for model in the database. First, we have to make Django know that we have some changes in our model. So type Python melogy.py make migrations blog. And then Django prepared for us a migration file that we have to apply now to our database. Type Python melody.py migrate. Now our post model is now in our database. Django admin is to add, edit, and delete posts we've just modeled. We will use the Django admin. As you can see, we import the post model defined in the previous chapter to make our model visible on the admin page. We need to register the model with admin.site.register. If you run server now, and you will get the admin page like this. From this picture, you can see we need a username and password to log in. So the next step, we need to create a super user. Import your username, the email address, password. Again, okay. Then the super user create successfully. Then let us run the server. Okay, and then go to the admin page and log in using the username and the password. We will see the admin dashboard. We can add some posts here. Okay, we have two posts now. Now I will introduce the Django query set. A query set is a list of objects of a given model. Query set allows to read the data from database, filter it, and order it. It is done in the console. So input the command python melody.py shell. See, the effect should be like this. And now, if you want to display all the posts we have now, you can import the post. And display all. Now we have two posts. And how about if you want to create an object in a command line? Let us import the user model at first, and then we can display all the users using this command. Yeah, we have now one user, that is me, and we define me is equal to and we create the post. And display all. See, we have 3 posts now. And a big part of query set is an ability to filter them. For example, if you want to get the post whose author is me, you can just run this one. We got all the 3 posts. And if you want to get the post whose title contains this string, run this one. See, we just have one post whose title includes this string. Query size also allows us to order the list of objects. Let's try to order them by create date. See? And we can also reverse ordering by adding a slash at the beginning. See? We have the reverse order of the post. Sounds like interesting, right? Carrie will introduce the next part for you. Thank you very much.
Now I will introduce Django URLs, views, and templates. A URL is simply a web address. You can see a URL every time you visit a website. Let's go to Django URL file. It's defined under My Site folder. We can see there is a URL patterns. The URL patterns take the path of a request and decide which views should handle the request. Given a request, the URL patterns pass control to the views. URLs.py will define a variable called URLs patterns, which is a list of calls to the URL function. Okay, then how do URLs work in Django? Let's go to URLs.py file again and see what it looks like. As you can see, Django already put something here for us. Here we can see this line. The admin URL, which you visited in previous chapter, is already here. It means that for every URL that starts with admin / Django will find a corresponding view. After a brief introduction to Django URLs, you may want to know how Django matches URLs to views. The answer is regular expression. Here are a list of a subset of rules to regular expression. Now let's go back to the urls.py file. There exists a URL function. The URL function has 3 parameters. The first parameter is a regular expression like this, and this will be used to match against the request. The second parameter is the view it used to call if there is a match. We can see there is an example I already put here. The second argument is the view to call. if there is a match. Lastly, the URL patterns take a name parameter at the end. This will be used in templates, and we will look at this later. And I will introduce the URL pattern procedure. Let's look at the procedure used by URL patterns. It begins at the top. This is a URL patterns procedure. It begins at the top and determine if the first one matches. If there is a match, it will be called the associated view. Otherwise, it will continue into the next pattern. Okay, now let's try to create our first URL. Again, open my site urls.py file, and it should now look like this. We need to add a line here. Django will now redirect everything that it comes into the localhost 8000 to blocks.urls. Then it is time for us to create the blocks URL .py file. It is under the block folder. We need to add these two lines here, as you can see. Here we are importing Django's functions, URL, and all of the views from blog application. We don't have any yet, but we will get to that in a minute. After that, we add our first URL patterns. As you can see, we are now passing a view called post list to a regular expression. This regular expression will only match an empty string. The last part of name equals a post list is the name of the URL that will be used to identify the view. This can be the same as the name of the view, but it can also be something completely different. We will be using the name URLs later in the project, so it is important to name each URL in the app. We should also try to keep the names of URLs unique and easy to remember. We talked a little about view in the URL part. Then what is a view? A view is a place where we put the logic of our application. It will request information from the model you created before and pass it to a template. Our view is defined in the views.py file under the block folder. Let's go to that file and see what's in there. Not too much stuff here, only one line. I already wrote a simple view as an example. As you can see, we created a function def called post list. And it takes a request and return a function render that will render our template post list. Okay, let's see. Then we need to know after we introduce the view, then you must want to know what is a template. A template is a file that we can reuse to represent different information in a consistent format. A Django template format is described in language called HTML. For example, you could use a template to help you write a letter, because although each letter might contain a different message and be addressed to a different person, they will share the same format. Creating a template means creating a template file. The templates are saved in the blog/template/blog directory. So first, we need to create a directory called templates. Here you can see under the blog folder. Then create another directory called blog inside the template folder. Then we need to create a post list HTML file inside the blog templates blog directory. This is our template file. Now, we can recall that we have different pieces in place. The post model is defined in the models.py. We have post list in views.py. Here is the post list, and we have already had the template added. Here we can see. But how we will actually make our posts appear in our template HTML template? This is exactly what views are supposed to do: connect models and templates. So we need to go back to the views.py file. In our post list view, we will need to take models we want to display and pass them to the template. In a view, we decide what models will be displayed in a template. So far, our post list view looks like this. I already put some code here to save time. I will introduce the code one by one. Okay, this line here is used to include the model we have written in models.py. Now we want to publish blog posts sort by published date, so we need to add this line. This is a query set we introduced in the former part. You should already be familiar with how query sets work. Please note that we create a variable for our query sets. Posts. Treat this as the name of our query site. From now on, we can refer it by this name, like here we can see. This line here is use the timezone.now function, so we need to add an import for time zone. Here, time zone now. In the render function, we already have parameters with request. Everything we receive from the user via the internet, and a template called postlist.html. The last parameter, which looks like a map, is a place in which we can add some things for the template to use. We need to give them names. It should look like this now. Last, please note that the part before colon is a string, and you need to wrap it with quotes. So finally, our blocks view.py is already here. In HTML, you can't really write Python code because browser don't understand it. So the browser only know HTML. We know that HTML is rather static, while Python is much more dynamic. So Django templates allows us to transfer Python-like things into HTML, so you can build a dynamic website faster and easier. Then I will introduce template tags. Here are the template tag syntax for template. The template has three pieces. The first one is used when you need to show a variable value. The variable name is inside of double curly braces. Template tag is enclosed in curly braces with percent and are used for loops, ifs, structural elements, and some other things. Lastly, a variable can have a pipe character after it to use a template filter. Template filter takes a string as input and returns a string as output, and can be thought of much like the pipe in shell scripting. Now let's go to postlist.html file to see our template. To save time, I already put the code here. If we want to display like the static post we created earlier, you can mix the HTML file and the template text as I do. As we already learned the template syntax, this code is easy to understand. We can display lists with for loops. Everything you put between this for loop will be repeated for every object in the post list. The line break is piping the post ties through a filter to convert line breaks into paragraphs. Then let's see what our website looks like. I will save the files. Okay. Oh, we can see there is error here. Let's find what's the error. Okay. Oh, I forgot to delete the comments here. So this time maybe it works. Okay, this is our project finally looks like. Yes, the blog looks pretty ugly. You can make it more beautiful using CSS. Until now, we have introduced every important part of Django. If you want to learn more, you can go to the Django's official website, djangoproject.com. It has all the things you need of Django. Okay, thank you very much for watching.